Are you ready to take your aerial reconnaissance to new heights? Meet Werx, your go-to source for cutting-edge aviation analysis and intelligence updates. It's all happening right on Patreon. With 4 tiers, you get to choose what level suits your needs. From discounts at the workshop to ad-free content, you'll have access to live SITREPs, Q&As, and video archives. Werx Patreon isn't just a subscription. It's a doorway to unparalleled insights, exclusive content only available here, and a strong community of like-minded individuals who share the same passion for intelligence analysis.
Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Listen, I am thrilled to invite you to our exclusive community over here on Patreon. All right, hey, welcome folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your SITREP. It's 4/30/2024, and we're coming to you live here from the great state of Texas in the Monkey Lounge. And so, without further ado, let's bounce over here to Skyglass, and let's talk about what is up in the sky today. We're going to go and talk. Actually, we're going to look at the historical data from the weather mod side of the house, and I just want to show you what it is they are doing. We've talked about this in the past, and I think this should be a call to action. I think you need to contact your congressman in your local areas as well as your state level, at the highest level, including your governors. And you need to let them know if you're in Oklahoma or even Texas, you need to tell them that when we have TORCON conditions that are, and that's probably con means conditions, but when you have those systems that are coming in that have been forecasted to be very big and explosive, the last thing you need is some idiot out there in a cloud seeding aircraft stimulating those clouds and adding to what is already a volatile environment. And so there needs to be legislation passed that says under any circumstances, if you go out and you cloud seed on days where we have this kind of weather condition, then you should be held accountable. And that goes for the insurance companies. They ought to be suing these folks over at WeatherMod LLC and SOAR, S-O-A-R, which is the cloud seeding operation. So we're going to look at those flights today. And I would just tell you that even when you don't have those crazy conditions, you can go look at Dubai. We'll look at that again briefly. And that is what happens when you add stuff to these clouds. It's bad. I've seen it happen here in Texas, and I will tell you, you can be hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and you're still going to get the effects of this stuff, all right? So let's do this. Jump over here into Skyglass. First and foremost, sitting around 266. And I've already stripped out, let's see, 61 Tex-2s, 55 EC-45 training helicopters, for the most part training, and then 36 T-38s. So it is it's a beautiful day here to fly in Texas. So we've taken that stuff out of the equation, and let's see what we got up in the air. If we take, let's just look at the H-60s. 35 of those currently up. Ignore the stuff in the Panhandle, but the rest of the stuff is definitely things we need to be paying attention to. Again, those are military, for the most part, Blackhawks. Look at the banana copters. 12 of those up currently right now. Now, some of that is going to be over in Europe. As I were to look at that list and just bounce us around. Let me see if we've got anything across the drink. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, well, it's 12 here domestically. All right, that's a little elevated. And then let's go to the tankers. 35 KC-135s currently up across the United States. That's just KC-135s. We go to the B6 or 767-200s, the Pegasus. 8 of those, add that to it, and that puts a 39 on our screen. So pretty busy kicking off the day here. Take those away. And then the big piece too, I want you to just pay attention to the high-flying balloons. Okay, that's a new one that just popped up. We see these on a pretty frequent basis. We know there are 2 out over the Caribbean right now that are hidden, and we know there are 4 or 5 over Germany as well. Plus these, look at this one here. I mean, some of these 83,000, that one's at 90,000 feet. That is, again, that's actually over, well, I guess that would be, let me see what that location is if I if I were looking at, yeah, that's going to be just the north. That's towards Seattle area. All right. I know it looks high up. Looks like it's over Canada. It throws you off a little bit. But okay, let's look at our watch list. Again, this Habal right here that is out over Tucson, Arizona side of the house. Again, gathering intel. That's what they do. Anything and everything from traffic to probably license plates to cell data. You name it, it's gathering it. And then we get over here, you can see a little intel bird getting off the ground there in Southern California. A lot of Homeland Security stuff. I've stripped most of that out, the Border Patrol, et cetera. There are a couple still on there. And then that white 757, that is typically an aircraft that is used whenever there is a global crisis, and that's a team that goes out on it. It looks like it's just doing some touch and goes. Little E2 off the coast of Jacksonville. Again, that's a Navy small footprint or platform, Navy Awacs version. And then that little Dornier D328 headed into Guantanamo Bay. That's Spec Ops, all right? And then, of course, E3s, R135s. We've got the Italians off doing their own little recon. You can see that doghouse on the side of that aircraft. That's an intelligence aircraft as well. And then it looks like a spar flight headed close to Stuttgart, I think. So that'll be a dignitary, all right? Okay, now let's look at the intel community. And you'll see it's a little different than what it has looked like in the past. We normally see a boatload down near Tucson. I see a little bit of movement there across Texas, some stuff in and out of Savannah to Jacksonville area or Central Florida. And then, of course, over DC, hot and heavy. Then we back up and look. The only difference, you know, this is the same spots they've been looking very closely at Belarus, et cetera. But notice this again. I'm telling you, they're looking at Serbia and Kosovo. And that side looking right there off to the western side of Serbia, which is a little different look than normal. We see some stuff headed over towards Crimea. A lot of activity over Israel, in and out of Riyadh, a little bit of stuff there. Then, of course, you can see a lot of activity over the Mediterranean as well as near Gibraltar, entering the Mediterranean. All right, over to Asia, you can see just little blips. Got some stuff over South Korea, a little bit of work there over Japan, down towards the Philippines, and then into Malaysia near Singapore, okay? All right, nothing down over Australia. And then let's get into the drone activity. While we're over in Asia, just see very busy over Japan as always. Some low altitude stuff to the north of Denmark, which is, we see that from time to time. And then you can see the high altitude, that's low altitude near Benghazi out over the Mediterranean. But then look at the high altitude Q4, Q9 drones headed towards the Black Sea. As always, looks like a little high altitude jolt there over the Med as well. And then some transitions. Notice these in and out of Southern California, very close to the border. That's probably Customs and Border Patrol. Or protection, sorry. And then you can see into Denver, over to DC. And then notice this right here, getting different layers over the Chesapeake region, over DC. Obviously looking closely at probably what's going on around the bridge. And I would imagine they're a little concerned for the DC area too. And then TACAMO E6. Take charge, move out. These are talking to your sub nukes. You can see them off the West Coast, off the Gulf of Mexico, hot and heavy, and then off the East Coast. Now, remember, we've been talking about the Awacs. Very unusual activity over the Northeast. This is also a little unusual. Very, very heavy. Go look at the Awacs. We'll start out here in Asia. You can see a little bit of flight activity there. Out of Japan, and then you can see also off of the normal location in Australia. We get over here to Europe, and just notice those man-in-the-middle circles where they're doing grabs, more than likely. Over Poland, you get down near Germany. Then you can see, looks like a broken trace headed into the Middle East. Again, advanced warning system, right? This is the Awacs. The plane's got the dome on the very top. Multi-functioning aircraft. Does a lot of different things. And then This, again, off the East Coast. That's a little concerning given the danger boxes off of that area, looking at the E6 off the same area, etc. A lot of flights there. Remember, this is the last 5 days, so this is pretty active. And then down towards Tucson, where we see the lack of intel community there. Kind of strange. All right, let's talk R135s. And what you're going to see are, again, off the East Coast. Kind of strange to see them headed in and out of Charleston, South Carolina. You can see that looks like a little calibration, maybe a training flight over Texas near Tyler. And then that weird kind of odd-shaped box over the U.S. there, headed towards the east. Then, of course, you get here. It's the same story as always. Look at the layers, though. Clearly looking at Kaliningrad. And then you can just see same spots they've been. It's just nonstop, right? Every time we check in, that's the last 5 days. Again, very, very concerned about what's going on, getting real live data. Remember, this is the one that can track an object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. So pretty impressive. Then you could see it going over towards Israel and that general region because we're snooping and we want to know what's going on there. A little break. Looks like that one's headed out over the Pacific. All right. Now, let's do this. I want to talk about the weather mod aspect. As we get into what has been up, what has been flying, we're going to look specifically at the April 27th. We're going to go to the timelines. And so this right here is this is weather mod. The particular aircraft that we're looking at comprise of two different companies. The one that is that I just ran my mouse over directly right here across from me, that's going to be Weather Modification LLC. All right. Now, the one to the north is SOAR. It's Seating Operations and Aerial Research is the name of the company. All right. These are independent private companies. And again, if you live in Oklahoma, if you live in Texas, you need to be contacting your congressman. You need to let them know that legislation needs to be passed to stop cloud seeding over our areas because it is wreaking havoc on the ground. It's causing your insurance companies to drop you because your stuff is getting hit over and over and over. They're losing money, and so they have the power as well. So if you contact your insurance company, let them know, hey, look, you got cloud seeding operations. Give them a tail number and show them this video if you have to. Let them know because they have the power. They got the lobbyists. They can do a lot more stuff than we can other than we have the volume. And if we, ding enough people's phones and emails with our concerns, maybe they'll pass some legislation to stop this madness, all right? Now, continue on as we look at this. I want to show you, this is the SOAR operation. This is cloud seeding that took place at around 1 in the afternoon. Okay, you can see storms are already firing up. This is because, of course, they're flying in and out of that location. Now, if I push it over here to 6 o'clock, we'll let that run for a second. But you can see those storms intensified rapidly. Okay, now, if you get over here to this side, again, that's the exact same area they were cloud seeding. Right? And then that train that ran through into Oklahoma, here's the flight. That's the one at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There it is, Seating Operations. You can see the company name, who the aircraft belongs to. This is indeed the aircraft. You see, it's not something you think, oh, it's not a big aircraft. There's your tail number 2 in 4125G. Now, that's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's the first round of storms I showed you. Okay, now you get into the later one in the afternoon. This is anywhere from about 4 o'clock till about, 6:45 p.m. Central Time. All right, and now when I showed you, I go back to that map. You can see this is the flight location. Remember, up until Lawton and those areas of Oklahoma got some very big, significant tornadoes. This is what happened. Look. That's the same area they were doing the cloud seeding. Same time, right? And look how strong and intense those thunderstorms were. And then you had reports of tornadoes on ground. We'll look at that news article in just a minute. Okay. But this will continue, and there'll be loss of life. Your insurance will drop you. You'll have a lot of issues if they continue to do this, all right? I've shown you in the past just the simple fact that they will be cloud seeding in the same area or even south down towards San Angelo. What happens is it will carry for miles and miles. We're talking hundreds of miles, right? That's what happened in Dubai, all right? So let me do this now, okay? We've got that aspect of it. I'm going to take you over here to the article. Let's talk a little bit about these tornadoes. Catastrophic damage, at least 4 fatalities after severe tornado outbreak hits Oklahoma. And you can see the damage, what happened there. Now, look at this, 39 tornado reports on the 27th, down from 86 on the 26th. So you already had an atmosphere that was conducive to tornadoes, large tornadoes. In some cases, I think I remember seeing reports around on 26th where these things were on the ground for hours, like big tornadoes that just went from all the way across the state. Pretty crazy. So, but here are your numbers: 33 in Nebraska, 6 in Texas, 5 in Kansas, 4 in Missouri, et cetera, and 38 tornadoes in Iowa. All right, Oklahoma. It's insane, and the damage that can be done on these tornadoes is significant. Right, you can see just destroyed towns. Look at this whole entire town, just destroyed. All right, okay, now. There's one part of it. Let's go over here to this, and I want to show you something. This gives me hope, and the reason I say that is because I use my radar exclusively when it comes to tracking stuff. In fact, the historical video that I just showed you of the stuff that happened on 27th, that's my radar. Okay, I have hope in the fact that you have a meteorologist now asking the question: did cloud seeding cause the Dubai disaster? The fact that they are starting to get their eyes on this and seeing what happens gives me a little bit of hope, because if these folks wake up and they're not fired for talking about it, then we may get a little more visibility to this, right? But check this out. On Tuesday, April 16th, I've shown you the video. We're going to look at another one here in just a minute. A whopping 6.5 inches of rain fell on Dubai, approximately 2 years worth of rainfall in a single day, all right? And then UAE Emirates has a known experiment with cloud seeding. Well, guess what? He doesn't know this. I can guarantee you he doesn't know this. But Weather Modification LLC is parked and camped in Saudi Arabia, all right? They've been there for at least a year. And they're the ones that are doing most of this stuff, okay? Now, you go over to this, again, we'll go to the video here, but you can see this is Dubai. Look at the flooding, right? And then we went over this video the last time we got together talking about the stuff that had happened back on the 16th. And you can just see it. It was pretty bad, okay? But this is what happens when you add that type of ingredient to the clouds. People on the ground for hundreds of miles have the impact of this, okay? Okay, so let's move on from that. Back over here, we're going to get into, well, let's see. Let's just start covering the stories. Now, this is the flight again in 4125G, and this is Seeding Operations and Atmospheric Research, aka SOAR. Yeah, they come down here to Texas every once in a while. Somebody's hiring these folks. If you can figure that out, maybe we can get them stopped, because we could, give them a little publicity. All right. Now, let's look at Flashbang's schedule. Now, you would think 39 tornado outbreaks that this guy would be heading to Iowa and to Oklahoma to survey the damage, because typically presidents like to do that kind of thing, right? They go in, they make sure they get federal funding, et cetera. But no, not really. He's headed up to Wilmington, Delaware. He's headed home. And yeah, this is just par for the course with this guy. So look at this. Over half, and it's on the Daily Wire, half of Americans support mass deportation. of illegal immigrants. Well, you'd think we'd be a lot higher than that, but of that, it's when you say over half, it's 51%. So it's just a smidge over 51% is not a lot over half. But anyway, but as a poll of 6,251 people, that's a pretty large sampling. And the fact that they hit it, depending on where it really was sampled and et cetera, then that kind of changes the outcome. But nonetheless, yeah, we could see it. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. And here's why. 3.5 billion slipped into Ukraine. Israel aid bill to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. Yeah. Hey, do you remember this from 2009? As, this is them praying to Islam and to their little G God. Okay. But tucked away in the, now, did this grow? Because I guess this is a combination. I know there's 60 something billion is going to Ukraine by themselves, but $95 billion military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is hidden in there is a $3.5 billion slush fund to open new processing centers for Muslim migrants. Yeah. And this isn't talking about bringing them across the border. This is flying them in, folks. I've shown you that. The C-17 traffic, the private charters, the airplanes that are going into JFK from Ramstein. Yeah, they're bringing them straight in droves, all right? In fact, if you remember, they actually opened up near Fort Dix a migrant processing center for Middle Easterners, right? And that was for the ones specifically coming out of Afghanistan. So yeah, we're being overrun. And that was 2009. I would imagine it is exceptionally larger than it was then, okay? So where does this get us, okay? You wonder why they're having so much traction in terms of these protests at universities? Well, it's because we're paying for their schools. We're sending them to the best universities in the United States, fully paid for scholarships, and giving them jobs and housing and all the other stuff. And then, of course, they turn right around, and it's all part of the plan. More than 200 arrests amid anti-Israel protests at universities. And you can see this is like the late 60s, early 70s, that summer of love, right? That's, you can't control it when you're letting them in your country and paying for everything, all right? And then you get Soros comes in and basically stimulates all of that, gives them a little extra money, incentivizes them. And then, of course, it's a university, so they're already left of Pelosi to begin with, right? Okay, look at this. Biden looks to prevent future president from ending Ukraine war with a 10-year agreement. Now, this, let me take you back a little bit. Do you remember when Obama left office and John Kerry and all of them, they gave Iran like these pallets full on aircraft, just stock full of money, right? And we sent, I think it was like $400 million or something initially over to the Middle East, to Iran specifically, and we kind of hid it and sent it all over the place. Well, this is no different. And what that tells me is they believe that Trump is probably going to get in and get elected. They know that they can't, I say that. They will try to probably do what they do. I have to be careful because of the platform we're on. But nonetheless, this is what they do. They're trying to lock down Trump because he's coming in. They did the same thing with the Iranian deal. And of course, you saw Trump, what he did when he came in. First thing he was, reverse that, get our money back. There was no way to trace it because they didn't make it traceable. And so that money ended up, October 7th in Israel. We saw the outcome of what happens when we give Iran money and when we free up their all of their sanctions, et cetera. We are a key enabler for the Iranians, all right? And their mission is to eliminate Israel and eliminate us, and we continue to give them money. So this, no different. This is basically making it, from a deep state perspective, they're just locking them in. Absolutely ridiculous. A 10-year agreement. This is treason. Should not be allowed. But we know with Mike Johnson as our House Speaker, this would pass. Okay. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, let's move on. All right, this is what you're looking at in terms of the danger boxes over the United States, military operations. The red ones are live TFRs, okay? Danger box down here, we see all of that activity happening on this end. Let's see what the altitude is. This one's only from sea level to 50,000 feet, but it is still a danger box. Then we go over here to the East Coast, and you can see as well, double, in some case, 4 deep in terms of the danger boxes off the East Coast. And then, of course, flashbang on the move. That's his TFR. This I need to look at closer. Wilmington, North Carolina. And that looks to be May 2nd. And that's going to be flashbang as well. Of course, like I said, he's headed home versus coming out here and trying to help people with their tornado outbreak. So, all right, let's move on. This is going to take us over to Ramstein. I skipped Biggs and skipped Dover because this is where a lot of this is headed. The one out of Biggs actually was headed to Frankfurt, but these were all headed from Dover into Ramstein. As you can see, the arrivals, 747, 767, 777 coming in from Perot Field. So these are definitely going to be probably more than likely troop related. All right. Now, when they leave, notice this Omni is headed to JFK. Migrants, Middle Eastern migrants. All right. They're a case in point, what we were just talking about. The Reach aircraft, etc. Now, I'm going to show you the thick trace lines on the C-17s headed into Ramstein, into actually, let's just take a look at that real fast while we're looking at these, because remember, these some of these here are going to be like these reaches, and this reach are going to be C-17s. Okay, so let's jump over there to the C-17 traffic. 292, I think that was a total count, 5 days. Notice the thick traces in and out of Hawaii. It looks like we've got more deployments pulling out of Hawaii, some headed to the Asian Pacific side, and then some headed into the United States across the drink. Alaska, another big area. Look how thick the traces are from Beale into Texas, right? Very, very thick right here, right? That's a lot of flights in 5 days to those two areas. Down into the Virgin Islands, I do find this interesting as always. The seaports all the way up and down the East Coast. Look at the amount of flights going across the drink. Look at the thick spaghetti traces into Ramstein. From interesting pieces, Sweden into RZE Poland. That one is interesting to me because that means we've got stuff moving from one of the new NATO countries, stacking them up in RZE. Remember, that's a forward operating base inside of Poland, and that's where a lot of equipment and a lot of stuff is being staged as it goes into Ukraine, all right? And then, of course, notice these flights coming in to Egypt. That's the border right there. So that is to the other side. That's in the Egyptian border. And then, of course, you can see in and out of Bahrain and Qatar. A little bit of activity and traffic there in Japan. And then, of course, Australia is pretty busy, actually, for 5 days, right? Okay, back over to our Mini. Again, you can see this one right here. This is going to be an immigrant. I bet my life on it. Going to JFK. They come in to JFK. They'll be processed and then given their little credit cards full of money and their phones and their, where they're going to live, all that kind of stuff. All right. Moving on, let's look at the Brits. And the interesting piece is this one right here. That's going into Jordan, all right? All right. And then, of course, that one right there looks to be headed into, that's certainly into the Middle East. Let's see, in and out of Europe, all right? That's going to be your Brits. This is going to be your U.S. So this is the one that catches my eye. Not this one so much, but this one right here, right? And you can see it is 37,000 feet in level, but it's headed into Africa. Remember, this section that runs right across here is that's the area that is the belt line from north to south that has all the unrest, all right? So the fact they're putting a camber in, that's going to be U.S. troops headed into Africa. All right. All right. Now look at this. U.S. announces a $6 billion aid package, including Patriot missiles, into Ukraine. It just, you know, we'll just watch the flights. You'll see some Trip 7s rolling in. But this is, we just keep stoking the fire, folks. You know, putting more quarters in the machine. But look at what the G7 decided. They wanted to try and put a cap on Russian oil. And they're saying it's not even enforceable. And the interesting piece, insurers warn, right? But just remember the big takeaway to this is that our strategic petroleum reserve has been dwindling on a pretty regular basis. I think we're down to about 17 days now, maybe even a little less than that, because we take that and we sell it to China or we give it away. It makes no sense to me, but nonetheless, this right here just goes to show you every time we try to enforce some kind of sanction against Russia, it comes back to bite us. Remember, we have 19% of our oil came from Russia. Now, all of a sudden, we're having to get that from elsewhere, and it just ends up hurting us. So it's pretty stupid. But here's RZE. The big takeaway here, German Air Force, you've got base commander. Those two are the only ones that catch my eye, really. Nothing else. That's a Belgium Air Force. Nothing else really showing from a U.S. perspective or a large aircraft perspective. So just kind of keep our eye on that, because as the money gets released, they're going to start pushing stuff in. I think we've given them everything we've got to date in terms of dollars and all the other stuff. And so, again, you've still got 52 days left in terms of spring. So, you know, this is the time of year where they may try to go after, with NATO, go after Russia and push them back. So we'll see. Spring offensive, I still think it's possible, especially with the money that just got released. So, all right. Now, look at this. Hunter Army Airfield to Perot. That, I don't really know what to make of this. I really don't. It could be troops, but we do know that this spot right here is also a location for immigrant camps, or at least it was in the past. All right. Okay, here we go. National Cargo, 747s. Big key, that one's South Korea to Anchorage, 155 millimeter. Remember, we're still borrowing stuff from South Korea. They have a lot of it. We actually, I think, allocated 500,000 rounds, and so we've continued to pull from that. All right. So, all right, continue to watch. And I do see that flight going into New Orleans, right, or out of New Orleans to Norfolk. Sorry. All right, Western Global, you coming in from Anchorage, depending where it came from. It came from Hong Kong. I'm not too concerned about it. It could be medicine. But if it came out of South Korea, then that would be 155 millimeter artillery. All right, listen, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. We will see you on Thursday with our next one. But keep that powder dry and stay frosty. That's it. God bless. Monkey out.
Thanks for watching. Head over to the online store to check out the latest gear and products by scanning the QR code on screen now, or go to monkeyworksus.com.